So Jesse, tell me, so you played Wolf Creek, Black Desert, sick. It's on my list. I haven't played it yet, but I've like wanted to for a while. So you said you were out here, you played Black Desert and Wolf Creek.
Yeah, Black Desert, Wolf Creek, Copper Mountain, and man, a lot. Then we played once kind of like a city course in St. George,
Yeah,
and I mean it was. I mean we played 6 rounds in 4 days, so it was.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's so fun.
it was
that's a
quite a
lot.
bit. I was sore. I mean I played golf probably once a week now, and I wasn't ready for it, not like I used to be. But yeah, we had a lot of fun, man. We rented a house over, I can't remember the name of it, but rented a house and it was like 14 people. So it was pretty good. Had a
Oh,
lot of
nice.
lot of games going on. So
Did you play Sand Hollow while you were out there?
yeah. Yeah, it's Sand Hollow. Cause I'm trying to think of the one in Wisconsin is Sand Valley. And yeah, so we played Sand Hollow, Copper Mountain, Wolf Creek, Black Desert, the Ledges, and then one more like city. We stayed at the Ledges over
You
there.
did. My mom.
Yeah.
My mom actually lives there.
I
Really?
live
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
next to the ledges too.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
Small world. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's good golf. I feel like St. George is super. In the summertime, it's super cheap. Right now, it's actually really expensive because everybody's going down there to get away from the heat or from the cold. But it's fun. Like, are you a golfer at all?
Yeah, yeah, I like it. I didn't get to go that much this last year, but year before I was out there a lot.
You like what's your guys' handicaps? You guys have one?
I couldn't tell you. It's not great. What about you?
I'm like, I fluctuate. So for me, like the main thing has been, well, not in high school, I was pretty good. And then just since I haven't been playing as much. So I'm probably like between a 10 and a 15. Sometimes I'll
Nice.
play really, really well and like shoot
Mhm.
just over par. And other days I'm like 100 over par. And
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Uh,
what people like go play, they're like, man, I'm not any good, and I'm like, dude, nobody's good. Like, nobody's good.
yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, and you have like maybe the like one or two guys that just played in college that are lights out, but like everyone's gonna hit crappy shots. Everybody might hit a good shot, I mean, so I don't know. People are like nervous to go, and I'm like, dude, everybody's terrible. So you're gonna be just fine.
I feel like the thing for me, the people I hate playing with the most is like they hit a bad shot. Their expectations going into it are like they're gonna play like a tour player and they
Yeah.
lose a ball and they're all pissed off. They won't
Mhm.
talk to you the rest of the hole. They're like throwing their clubs. It's like, dude, you paid money for this. You paid money to go spend 4 hours pissed off on the golf course. Um, I don't care
yep.
how good people are as long as they're like quick. But let's jump into a little bit of kind of intros. So I'll start. So I'm Harrison. I'm the founder and CEO of Joltly. And then I'll kick it off to Tyler, who's the CTO. So my background is I got into the industry through my dad. He was a landman for mobile for like 85 to 95. And then he started his own exploration company in 95. And so I always grew up adjacent to that. I grew up in Golden, Colorado, which is where Mines was. My dad went to school at Mines, did never left. So I just grew up in Colorado and that was kind of my connection there. And it was just through that. I was always around the oil and gas industry. My dad, he started on the exploration side, probably in the early 2000s. He started doing work in all the Rocky Mountain region. And then towards the later end of his career, he started doing a lot of stuff in Kansas. And so that's where we operate most of our stuff today is in Kansas. Um, and so that's been cool to kind of see that transition, just carry on that family side. And then Tyler, Tyler, I'll let you kind of share a little about your background in the industry and kind of how you got involved in it.
Yeah, I went to grad school at Texas Tech, and through that, interviewed with Crown Quest Operating, got a job there, worked at Crown Quest for the last 9 years. And then a year ago, we got acquired by Oxy. And so I was working at Oxy for the past year. And then as I was planning on quitting eventually, and met Harrison's mom of the plan and kind of connected me with him. And since, about a month ago or so, started working with Joltly, Harrison.
You should share a little bit more about how you met my mom because it's kind of a crazy story. I'll share a little bit of my context. So I started Joltly because I needed a better tool to help pay the bills for on the oil and gas side. So we had all kind of the same situation where you are, Blake, where you're like coming into it. You guys were onboarding to a new accounting system. And I was so frustrated because I knew there was really good tools for small to medium sized businesses, the pay tools. here in Salt Lake City. And one of the biggest exits they've had was a company called Divvy. And my program at BYU, a lot of our mentors were from Divvy. And so that gave me a lot of exposure to the SMB space in terms of payments and processing and kind of what that looked like. But for oil and gas, it just wasn't doable because nothing connected to the accounting systems. And so I knew I needed something better. It just started out of the need to do my job better. And then as that process grew and developed, I was like, yeah, I started bringing in, working with a few different people, but it wasn't, I had honestly been like just praying for help to God, like, please help me bring someone that I could have on the technical side so I could really scale this thing. And then crazy enough, my mom reached out to me and she's like, hey, like I just met this guy on this plane from St. George to Denver. He's on the way from Midland, works for Oxy, and he's technical. You should grab onto them. And then so I did, and Tyler and I would kind of hit it off in that regard. And started talking about the potential working together. And Tyler, I'll let you kind of fill in the back end of that.
Yeah, like you said, I knew I was leaving Oxy in August, and so I was just working back and forth for the last year, and then met his mom on the plane, and it was kind of a stroke of luck. Thank God that we met, because it turned into something awesome. Kind of exactly what I was looking for. I was looking to start maybe on my own business, doing something this or that in the technical field, and so that's kind of got really fortunate, really blessed to have that opportunity. And so I guess I didn't clarify. My original background is in geology, geophysics, and then eventually within a year, less than a year, kind of moved into the tech space in oil and gas, and I built custom software for Oxy and Crown Quest. And so that it was kind of a perfect fit when Harrison's mom kind of was describing what Harrison was doing, and it worked out pretty well.
Jesse, maybe you can take a minute and kind of share your history and how you got connected to oil and gas, and just kind of maybe your career path a little bit, and kind of how you ended up with MOGO now. And then after that, we'll have you share a little bit kind of your story.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks. I don't know if you guys can hear my computer, but it sounds like it's about to blast off. It's a 8-year-old Dell that I just love, and I've got a new one that I've just not set up yet. So I don't
You know
ever
what?
use the camera. I don't ever open it. I plug it into my monitor. So this thing is just, it's driving me crazy, but I'm going to ignore it, So
I think it's actually maybe Riverside that is kind of get some buildup. Mine's doing the same thing. If I mute myself, it stops. I've noticed a little bit. It might maybe the same thing for you, but
I
every
can
time
fix it all in post production, so it's fine.
okay, good. I'm going to act like nothing's going on.
Yeah, just pretend like it's fine. I'll fix it later. You're good.
Yeah. So, man, answer the question. Started out from a little town in Oklahoma called Lindsay. It's just southwest of Norman, about 30 miles. And I grew up in it. My grandpa had a hot oil service company. And then, my dad's done it his whole life, whether it's tank trucks, hot oils. Then he ended up working for Bogert, Louis Dreyfus, Dominion, Lynn, Roan, and then Citizen bought Roan. Validus just bought them. He was there at the same place for 32 years. So I grew up in it as well. And then, my whole life, I grew up seeing all the hard work and effort that goes into it, and late calls in the middle of the night or getting call outs and having to go fix stuff. I was like, man, I don't want to be in the oil field. I don't want to do the oil field. I was like, oh, that's hard. I don't want to do that. So, ended up doing something that's probably harder. I joined the Army after high school, was in the Army for 4 years, got out, used my GI Bill, went to Oklahoma State. And then my junior year there, I got an internship with a land broker here in Norman. So I was driving from Stillwater to Norman 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when I wasn't in class. And I learned that there was a whole other side of it. It's not just the field side. It's not just the work. There's, hey, we got to put a puzzle together. It's got to add up to one. You need to account for all the royalty, owners, override owners, working interest owners, started running title, started leasing. We did a little, project where we bought and flipped leases. We had some clients that we did just client work for on putting stuff together for working interest partners that wanted to get in on some of the stuff that was going on in 2000. This would have been 2016, 2017, all leading up until the price collapsed, which was pretty hot and heavy around Oklahoma, and a lot of dollars getting spent on leasing up, what was thought to be, it was all Woodford stuff, it was Mississippi Woodford hunting, wells. So did that for a long time. I think, as I was learning, I was getting paid, as an intern, I was getting paid $80 a day. And I was just tickled to death because I was getting to learn. I was getting, I was getting paid to get an education in it. And then I think whenever I decided to step away on my own was whenever I leased up 2 sisters in Grady County, and it was, they owned half a section between the 2 of them, so 320 acres, and I got paid $80 to get this deal done, and we turned around and got it to the operator that was going to drill the well for double what we paid for it. So I made the guys I was working for a whole lot of money just real quick, and I was like, "Dad gummit," I was like, until and I didn't know anything before either, but until you start getting into it and start getting an understanding, then you're like, oh, I think I can do stuff on my own, which that's hard in itself too. So granted, those guys were taking the risk. They were, putting their company, on the line. They were taking a lease that maybe 3 years down the road turns into nothing, so it was their investment, and I was grateful to learn from those guys. Worked there for a while, kind of started chasing day rates. The longest stint that I had was with EOG on the, west half of McLean, east side of Grady, and working all that stuff for EOG. Warwick ended up drilling some wells in there too. And then 2020, when prices, collapsed, I was just really a 1099 guy and just a hired hand. And there was no work in 2020. So I actually cleaned pools that summer. So I was cleaning pools and just whatever to get a paycheck. 2020 rolls around, the end of 2020, I was driving down kind of where I'm from in Lindsay, and I was just calling mom and pop, operators, lease signs, just looking at hey, who's a small company, and just calling numbers on lease signs. And that turned into myself and my dad buying 65 wells, marginal producers, barrel a day, 2 barrel a day stuff, some stuff that was down that we went in and, fixed a tubing leak or changed the pump, or maybe we walked away from it, and so that turned into that in that was December 1st of 2020. We closed on those 65 wells. And for the last 5 years, we've just been growing. Let's just, save and buy a few wells here and there, and it turned into, 178 wells now. And I think, it's not a lot of production, but, I think we're around like 130 or 140 barrels of oil a day, and gas we're around, 1,500 MCF a day, so nothing crazy, but it's fun, and it puts us all to work, and
Yeah.
then with that comes the whole back end, that with anything, there's a whole back office that has to be there to help support. You take care of the wells and the wells take care of you, but as you're doing that, you're racking up bills, you're getting checks for sales, you're getting all the paperwork that starts flooding into the office for what's being done in the field. So it's kind of cool to see the two worlds come together. That's it in a nutshell.
I love that. One thing you made me think about was I feel like there's this huge gap right now between like the average age in the industry is like 60 or something. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm not that far off. And so a lot of this production, especially in states like Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, the states that don't have as high of a regulatory burden, I think there's a big opportunity for a lot of these mom and pops or just kind of these stripper wells who have this if somebody can be efficient with back office and manage a lot of this, like they're not selling for more than X EBITDA. Like it's not that expensive to pick it up because you're picking up the P&A costs and all that. So I think in those states, there's a great opportunity where if somebody can be really efficient, like you guys, with their operations, where you can
yeah,
steal something really quick. I think in a state like Colorado, California, Wyoming is kind of a middle ground in terms of regulatory, but in those states, it's a lot more difficult for a small guy. But yeah, that's just kind of what it made me think about. But anyway, Blake, maybe you can share a little bit more about kind of your background and how you got connected with Jesi.
Yeah. So I went to college, didn't really know what I was gonna do. I ended up in business. I was going more into business marketing. I'm from Michigan, so I was up there. I got
So
into a customer service role at a tile company, and about a year into that, my wife is from Oklahoma, so we decided to move back and be closer to her family. Jesi married my wife's sister. We are family. Kind of was looking around for stuff and nothing was really working out. And Jesse was like, I think I have, something opening up here. So I started 10 months ago. I'm brand new to the industry. I feel like I'm just now starting to get a grasp on what all this is about. Yeah, just doing the accounting stuff, owner relations, a lot of that stuff in the office.
No, that's awesome. So did I say, so is Jesse your brother-in-law?
Yeah.
Cool. That's
Yep.
sick.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yep. Yeah, we don't really have anybody who's like not family that's working for us. It's strictly a family office between Blake, my sister, my dad, my sister's husband. We have a tank truck company. He runs it. Myself. It's just we're trying to put our family to work, and everybody shows up and gets after it. So it's kind of fun to see not having to help anybody else, and not that working for somebody's a bad thing, but we just try to take care of each other here.
Well, and I think that's the cool thing about oil and gas itself is like it tends to be a family business. Like I got into operations. Like I wasn't planning on oil and gas, but my mom came to me and she's like, "Hey, I need help running." Because my dad, he passed in 2019.
Sure.
And my mom, she was a nurse by profession. She didn't know the first thing about oil and gas. And so she was left with this exploration company. And she did an amazing job. But when I graduated, she's like, "Hey, I need help." And so when I came in, one of the first things I saw was like, I need to pay the bills. We had a bookkeeper at the time that was managing that. And we were so dependent on her for stuff that like if she got hit by a bus, I don't know what we would have done.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I need to feel like I have more control of our cash flow. I need to feel like I have more control of our vendors. I need to know like which vendors we're paying, when they're paying them. And so that kind of came full circle to how this all came together. So kind of cool with that. And I think kind of diving into like with Joltly and kind of how you guys came to it. I think you guys, Jesse, how do you know Maurice with
So
Wild Horse?
we bought from Wild Horse, we bought a lot of their legacy vertical production in South Central Oklahoma. I tried to buy it from them 2 years ago, and they're like, no way, no. And then like a year then a year later, they're like, yeah, we want to get rid of it. They operate bigger scale thing they got going on, so they were trying to get rid of some stuff that they weren't so much wasn't their main priority, I guess. And for us it fit. We actually one of our pumpers pumped their wells too because we're so close to each other. So it was just a good fit. And yeah, I tried to buy those 2 years ago from them, and then they kind of circled back to me about a year ago. So yeah, we bought some of their production last September, and then got to know Maurice and Brady over there. And now I hang out with they're in Norman, so I'm like, I'm in Norman too. This is too easy. So they ended up being pretty good friends. I'm still, I see every week, talk to multiple times a week, and
Cool.
we had, he kind of suggested, you guys, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll check it out, and then I checked it out and I was like, all right, like this is pretty cool, so yeah, it was really Maurice, spreading the word. And then we wanted to, kind of see a sample of it. And I think I don't know how long we talked to you before we were like, this is perfect. We need to have this, to be able to use.
And Blake, maybe you can kind of share a little bit because I know you've been really front lines on a lot of getting this up and going. Like maybe you can talk about what your guys' process was like before you were on Joltly and kind of how that transition has been and like what's been most helpful for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was nothing special, just getting bills in the mail or via email and having to put everything manually into Wolfpack, which, that's what we were using at the time. It's not like it's not a hard thing to do, but with how much we have going on right now, there's not a lot of extra time to put every single invoice in manually. And so that's been the biggest thing for me is to be able to, send these invoices to Joltly and have the AI do everything it does for us. It has made the process so much quicker for us, for me.
Yeah.
And it gives me time to
Oh,
be able
sure.
to focus on these
Yeah.
other things. And
Yeah, Blake
know-
Blake was keying everything in, before. And like he said, with that allows us to go and do the things that not that paying bills is something we don't like to do because you just have to do it. But maybe that's one less body we have to have, and that frees up Blake to start working on, as we're trying to acquire and grow, comes with having to set up everything on the back end. And, if getting your invoices, from multiple different sources, and then trying to keep it all together and trying to get them tagged to the right well, and then trying to get your jib cycle done on time. And now you're crunching, putting stuff in whenever it kind of, what I'd say, like, it just kind of runs in the background while we're doing what we have to do during a day, or taking our high priority list and working on it. This has just been running in the background, this whole time of invoices, or whether they're getting sent to the email you have set up for us, or we're getting them and Blake just boom puts them in. It's just running in the background. And then the next day, I can get through and I can review stuff and mark stuff ready to pay and get stuff moved over. And then the integration into Quorum that we're using now it's been pretty seamless. And, if we've had a problem, it's been fixed within that day. I'd want to say 30 minutes, but I don't know, maybe long, but with at least the day. So I think for us, just, it's constantly running and working in the background, and we're not getting behind on, like, oh crap, we didn't put in these bills, or, oh, we didn't get this, or we didn't, it's just there, and it's going, doing its job while we're able to do more.
And I think that's kind of our goal, is kind of what we set out to accomplish, is like, oil and gas companies should be focused on finding oil. Like, their job is to go find reservoirs, produce those reservoirs, and like get the liquid gold out of the ground. Like, nobody wants to be spending their time doing all this administrative stuff. It's just stuff you have to do to run the business. And
Yeah.
so we want to reduce G&A costs as much as possible, just to make this process easier. And I think there's a ton of opportunity with AI and with back office um, to jump in and just kind of to make this all easier. And that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of what we see things going forward too, as we become more of an AI company, both for
Sure.
the invoicing side, and then for event here soon for revenue and the other pieces that we plan to automate as well.
To give a real world example of how it's just been awesome to have all of our invoices live in one spot, as opposed to having paper copies floating around and making sure they're in our system eventually when I get to them. We had a vendor call the other day, and they were just checking up on whatever invoices, and we could just search them right at the top of Joltly, and we could say, these 5 invoices are payment processing right now. This invoice is in our system, but has yet to be proofed and sent through. And then this other one is waiting to be approved. So we just were able to check really quick for that vendor exactly what they needed, and we're just able to get them that information. So that's what's just been so nice. That's a real world example of how it's already helped us out.
I like the kind of, like, we use it for checks and balances too, on whenever whenever it's integrated and transfers into Quorum, and we can look at, everything we've posted so far, and then I can get on Joltly and I can see what's been paid, what's, scheduled to pay, kind of on the list, and the numbers match up, so I'm like, well, we got, 55 right here, we got 55 right here, and then I've got 35 to check, or whatever. So it's just kind of nice to not have to fumble around through different modules in any type of account. I've only used 2. I've used Pack and I've used Quorum, but I think I've used QuickBooks too. You kind of have to fumble through some things to find what you're looking for, where, I like having a couple screens up and I'm like, oh yeah, like, we're good to go. And then, the vendor calls, and, we're able to give them an answer of really probably more information than they needed, but we just gave them an answer of where everything was. And they had multiple, different invoices at different schedules of the workflow, of where it was going. So it's been pretty nice.
Well, I think one thing that's cool that you guys are doing with like the payments too is you guys have
Yeah.
you have real time visibility in your payments, and so you
Yeah.
can see the ACH info. You can see what bank account it's going to, when it was paid, how it was paid, and then you guys are scheduling those out too. And so you
Yeah.
guys can go, and maybe you can share a little bit more about how that's been helpful.
It's been nice because Blake will get everything, make sure everything gets into Joltly, and it pretty much, people are emailing us, it's getting in there, or Blake's getting it and just putting it right there, and then he doesn't have to worry about it. There it is. So I'll go through, check it, schedule to make payment. We've got some checks, physical checks set up for you guys to pay for us, and you've already paid multiple ACHs, direct deposits to vendors. And it's been nice. I mean, I get it in, I can pretty much whenever it says, like 3 to 5 days or 2 days or what, like I'll check my bank and it's out, like it's already out, so
Yep.
the ACH, and I've, with the multiple people that we've done ACH deposits with, there's been no issues on their end. They've got it, you know, paid, it's paid by MOGO with the invoice being paid on it. It's been, there's been no struggle. It's just part of it, it's just like, oh yeah, it's been paid, I worked it to get paid and it got paid, so.
What was your guys' process like before for payments?
Oh, man, so I'd go through what I would have to do if somebody was getting paid an ACH is I would have to, mark the invoices that I wanted to pay. And this is after we've hand typed everything in, right? So
Right.
get to the point to mark invoices to pay. And then I'd have to go to a separate module to create a NACHA file. And then that NACHA file had to match up with the bank with my bank, so right off the bat, I failed because the coding wasn't right for the NACHA file to pay everybody. So I'd have to create a NACHA file, then I'd have to upload that into my bank, and then I would have to approve it. Then they would have to, send me an email that I approved it. Then I'd send it to my wife, and she multi-fact, authentication. Then she would approve it. And, it was just not fun. I did it because it was just what had to be done to pay people. But I would say, like with Joltly, we're paying people now. Granted, we're switching to a new accounting software, and we were kind of waiting with an August 1 effective date. So we were sitting on a lot of invoices that we were trying to get expense deck set up to make sure that we're tagging the right expense to the right well, and we kind of sat on a lot of invoices there for a little while. But since we got all those in and we're taking care of our stuff on the back end, we've been paying stuff quicker than we've ever paid it, which, it's a good thing and a bad thing. I hate money going out the door, but it's for work that's already been performed that we needed done, so it's
Yeah.
people that are working and earning that money, and trust us to pay them for them to keep doing business with us. I would say we've been paying bills a lot quicker. One is really the supply shop. The supply shop, we've got a line of credit with them. I kind of let it get a little full, and I know what I can get away with, on them, as far as kind of payment terms, and we've always paid them. But now, and they're the ones that always email, hey, here's a statement, here's a statement, here's a statement of where you're at with your invoices you have with us. And like I said, really the supply shop, because we use them more than anything, they're getting paid quick now. You're like, I'm getting them through, and I'm sending them to pay. I think just the flow that it has, and me and Blake said it this morning. We're like, I probably every day now for 3 weeks, I'm like, man, I love Joltly. And he's like, yeah, Joltly's also awesome. And today he's like, man, it's kind of fun. I was like, it is kind of fun. It's like you get in there, you get it done, and then it's paid. So I think we're paying people. I know we're paying people quicker by using Joltly than how we were doing it before. I think because before there were so many tedious, aspects to it that I just would put it off. To be honest with you, I would put things off until I absolutely had to do them. This, like I said, with it kind of living and working in the background and then going through and it's just too easy to pay things. Actually doing the payments through you guys too. Like, to be honest with you, I'm like, okay, it's off my plate now. They're taking care of the payment, So
Yep.
for me, I'm like, I just have to get it to third base and then Joltly takes it home. Like that's great for me.
No, I love to hear that. That's awesome. I I think one of the things we hear from operators pretty consistently is just like they want to do their job. Like they don't want it. They don't. There's stuff they have to do that they just don't want to. And it's
Yeah.
like let's just use technology to automate that.
Yeah.
And like we're not. It's cool that we're not just like AI platform. Like we also facilitate these payments. And so we go one step further and go through all the KYC process to link the bank accounts to have everything be secure on the payments end and just like save so much time and just like so much frustration on the front ends just so you can do your guys' job better on the back end. That's a cool story. I'm glad you were able to share that. I think one thing that I'd be curious your guys' thoughts on as we kind of wrap up is like, what do you guys see? What would be most helpful for you guys from an AI standpoint? Like, what parts of your guys' workflow do you think could be automated more from where you guys are at today?
on in like any aspect that we do.
Yeah. Yeah, just generally. Like, how do you think it's gonna how could we automate that for you?
I don't think there's anything that AI can do better than me, Harrison. So I don't. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, man. I don't know. Like today, right now, I'm crunching up, like some partners that went on some wells with me. I'm kind of having to do, I'm running formulas in Excel to come up with how the decimal interest on the working interest that we bought out in these wells, and it's between, I'm in some wells and there's four, and then some wells I'm not in, so there's just three partners, but we're operating, and I'm having to just go through and just, this guy gets 90% of this value. This guy gets, 75% of this value. Then I get this value, and then we split it by a third. I don't know, if this is the right answer, divvying, and it's just what I've done for forever. Just cleaning up pay decks, adding new working interest owners, and making sure that the decimal interest adds up to one. So on the land side, like on the title side, I don't know. I've heard of some people trying some stuff like running title to where you could tie AI into like OK County records or like whatever database you're using for title work. And granted, like with the state records here, it only goes back to 1994 before you have to get into the courthouse and run title and pull books and pages and find stuff. But for me, just, I do all the land work on the back end for us. So I think for me, like personally with the job I like the most, which is the land work. I'll do anything, but that's what I prefer to do. Is if there was a way, I could pull book and page numbers, and just at least use what is available online, because you can, you'll run title. I'll have to write down the book and page number, then I type in the book and page number, then that pulls up that oil and gas lease or that mineral deed or that, any type of, mineral conveying instrument. If there was a way to like pull names and pull book and page numbers, and then and pull the instrument that's associated with that book and page number, for me as a landman and what I like to do on a daily basis, that would be beneficial for me, because it's just less, I used to have a legal pad, and I would look for any type of like mineral conveying instrument, and then I'd write down book and page numbers, write down book and just write them all the way down. Then I have to go search those. So if there was a way
Yeah.
for AI to work within the online county record platform that's already there to pull a certain, tract, or to pull a certain legal description, I could probably get more into the weeds and nitty gritty with it. But just
Yeah. Oh, that's
big
cool.
big answer is that would be great, and I mean, I don't think it'd put title people out of work. I think it would speed up their work. Maybe you could bill for 3 days and you just got it done in a day, I don't know, until people caught on, until your customer caught on. I don't know. You never want to work yourself out of a job is what I was taught as a landman. So something like that could help pull data, names, instruments, book and page numbers, dates that they were filed, just kind of streamline it for you from there. And I think, I don't know what the limits are with AI, probably nothing as the future goes on. But for me, that's probably the easiest way. The other thing, I think you guys are already working on it. What AI could help with kind of what we do on a daily basis or on a monthly basis is the check stub details from the purchasers, like
Yeah.
if exactly the same thing that the invoices is doing. It's pulling, who the invoice is from. It's pulling the well that the invoice, is tied to, and it's pretty much pulling the work that was performed, to your chart of accounts, whether it's, electricity, pumpers, hot oil treatment, saltwater haul, things like that. To where if you had your purchaser check, like let's say, we get a check from Energy Transfer for gas sales. Okay, who's it from? Energy Transfer. What wells is it for? The Wampler, the Lockhart, the Ingram, and the Bernstein. It goes down the list of that. And then, how whenever the expenses come, like with the invoices, when you have an expense come through, it's at the well level and it's tied to that expense deck. Same thing with revenue. And this is probably what you're working on. And this is like my vision of when you say, working on revenue, is that the well gets tagged to the right revenue deck.
Yeah.
And then how, when I just did like, I pulled my report for like my, the jib invoice, to where I'm seeing, okay, hey, here's all our invoices that are being integrated into our software. And
Mhm.
hey, it's being divvied up correctly between all the working interest owners, how it's supposed to. That would be great in a perfect world if it did that same thing with revenue to the right royalty owners and to the right, NRI owners, whether it's working
Yeah.
interest or royalty or overrun. And I think that's probably I'm probably beating a dead horse here with you, but
No, that's awesome.
I would love to see that, man, to where you could just get that in and it's done just like the invoices.
Yep, that's on the roadmap. That's
Yeah.
what Tyler and I have had lots of conversations about it, and we're working through that. Blake,
Yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts. Do you have anything else, you guys, as we kind of wrap up? Anything else you want to add? And Tyler, maybe you can share some thoughts too before we wrap up.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing with the check stub details. That would be Jesi. Jesi covered that. That was my suggestion with it, and Jesi and I had talked about that before. But that'd be huge, huge.
Yep.
I got one more for you, Harrison, is
Yeah, please shoot.
like transfers, like, interest owners selling to other, royalty owners selling on their minerals, or somebody assigning their leasehold to a different working interest partner, you
Yeah.
know, have like transfer, you send in like, owner relations, here's a mineral deed from this lady to her 2 kids, have that get fixed up in the deck, like in the revenue deck, that'd be cool too, is to instead of having to go through and manually change, the interest owner and what their interest was, be like, this guy passes away and leaves it to these 2 kids. I don't know, because every instrument's kind of different, but help you clean that deck up just with whatever conveying instrument you're getting,
Yeah.
and it clean up your deck,
Oh, that's a really cool idea. I think there's so much we can do because it feels like AI is on this hockey stick where like the models we're pulling from, whether it's GPT-5 or Gemini or
Yeah.
Perplexity or Claude or whatever these stuff that we're using on the back end to help us with process this data, like it's getting so good that it allows us to do better, serve you guys better, which is cool. Because like the better those models get, the better we're able to pull data, process data, and populate in a way that's useful for you guys on the front end, which is cool. Tyler, you have any thoughts for us before we wrap up?
No, the only thing I could think of is hopefully we can continue making this product way better and more than just an easier way to pay someone else, into maybe a tool that can, save you money in the long
Yeah.
term. So you can analyze what you're paying, maybe catch stuff easier rather than just, make it easier to pay other people, which is a huge thing, obviously,
Yeah.
but not to downplay that at all. But my goal is to keep the ideas flowing from you guys and hopefully implement them as soon as possible. So, to make this into a product that you can really leverage for more and more.
Yeah. I got one more for you, Harrison.
Dude, let's run it. I love this.
It'd
This
be
is great.
sweet, like, if you could take, like, I don't know, like, in Oklahoma, our completion reports are 1002As. So,
Yeah.
like, we have the well on the left side of the screen, you have your wells, so it pulls all your wells from, whatever software you're using. But it'd be sweet, if you could scan in your TAY and it tell you the depth of the well, the zone that it's in, the perforated intervals. I mean, it's not going to tell you equipment in the hole, because that changes, from time to time. But, casing size, tubing size, it'd be great if you could pull all that. I know there's, people have like well view, and there's things like that where you can build your schematics of what's in your well bore. But for us, like when we're working on a well, or we're pulling a well that we just got, I'm always having to, and the corporation commission site gets clunkier every time I'm on it. They used to have a thing called well browse where you could kind of go pull those things. Now they just have a map where you have to go zoom in on this map and find your well to pull any paperwork on it. But like once you had that, paperwork, if you could scan it, and then that could be put somewhere and keep it to where now, okay, for our well, hey, it was drilled, spud date was 1979, here was the completion date, first production date, here's the zones you're in, here's like I said, perforated intervals, more on the side that makes everybody money, have some information and data on your wells that's out there. You just have to kind of go fishing for it. Unless, if you're a decent operator, you're probably going to start pulling your 1002As and create your own, kind of database for it. But that'd be a nice place to start and save a lot of time on typing,
It's so fun to think about like what we'll be able to do just to make the lives of everybody easier. Cause it's going to be like, we'll be able to, like, I think about what Joltly will likely become. The more AI we integrate, it's going to be full stack automation for invoicing processing, for revenue processing. And then just like a lot of the data that comes
Yeah.
in on the paperwork, like we can clean that up, process it, and give it into a way And as we own that data, we'll be able to provide reporting on that data too.
Sure.
So like an operator comes in and like they'll be able to see, okay, like how much should I be paying for pumping in the Central Kansas uplift and be able to compare that to what other people
Yeah.
are paying, or in the Permian or whatever it may be. And they'll be able to get that data in a way that's helpful for them, or whether it's old county records or different things. And that's cool. No, I love that you share
Yeah,
this.
and I mean, I know there's things like drilling info and like there's other things that you can subscribe to like, pull certain, but I'm talking like if we're going to pull well and I'm just going to download it the old a place for me to organize the data on your wells, I mean, there's got to be, I know there's things out there, but I don't know. I'm just saying there'd be nice places you're getting stuff and getting data instead of having to type it in. If you could just get it somewhere like like you go to your wells, like the Kathleen, we click on the Kathleen and then all of our data is right there with it, not just, expense deck and revenue deck, but the actual makeup of what the well is.
Yeah, no, totally. That's cool. That's so sick, actually. I love that. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for your
Yeah.
time. This has been so helpful for us. It's just we try to stay as close to the customers as possible and then share the stories that our customers have. And so hopefully other people can kind of see. And I think I've thought about like different parts of things I've done in my career where it's like I've done sales roles before where it's just like you feel like you're pushing down doors and just like trying to overcome objections. This feels different to me in that like it's so cool when a customer like is like, hey, like thank you. Like
Yeah.
you helped me.
Yeah.
And like that's like super satisfying. So that's like so fun. And we want to continue to be of service for you guys and help you guys drill oil as much as possible. And hopefully we can take you guys from 150 barrels a day to over 1,000. And so that's what I'd love to see.
That'd be awesome. And it's just like one stripper well at a time, but it all adds up, and there's plenty of behind pipe potential that would be nice to go explore one day and see what else that there is to give up.
Totally. 100%. Okay. Well, we'll let you guys jump off, but thank you so much for taking the time. Good luck the rest of the day.
Awesome.
And
Thanks, man.
congrats on your kid, by the way.
I appreciate it.
congrats on-
Yeah, little girl. She's
Yeah.
awesome. So
How many days old, weeks old?
7 days old, 8 days old.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't know if it was a boy or girl. It was a surprise.
Okay,
It's
cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little girl. So we got a boy and a girl now.
What's her
Nice.
Her name's Eloise.
Eloise? That's a beautiful
Yeah.
name. I love
Yeah.
that.
I saw her and it was one of the names we had picked out, and I saw her and she was just beautiful. And I was like, that's a beautiful name. Like, she's a beautiful girl. That's her name. That's what she
Let's
needs.
go. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have a good rest of
Cool.
your day.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Bye.